28 years ago, countries from across the globe gathered to declare that youth have a right to participate in any matter or procedure affecting their lives. For me, participation isn't just about showing up. It's about having authentic roles and making meaningful decisions. When we think about the places that youth typically inhabit, schools, community-based programs, our families, are youth encouraged to take authentic roles? Are they even allowed to make meaningful decisions? Research shows that youth voice in decision-making is a powerful agent for youth development, that it strengthens the organizations that serve youth, and that it helps to foster democracy. From nearly 3 decades of working with young people, I've seen the power and the benefits of youth voice and participation. At Neutral Zone, a youth-driven teen center where I've served for the past 12 years, I've seen young people start and run a publishing company, throw a large outdoor-scale music festival, collaborate on our organization's strategic plan, and serve on our board of directors. And by the way, they make up nearly half of our 30 board seats. Alia showed up at the Neutral Zone when she was 13, and she quickly got involved in many of our youth-driven programs. She found a powerful outlet for her voice in Volume, our spoken word poetry program. Her mighty poems ranged in topics from being a Palestinian in a post-9/11 world to coming to grips with the recent death of her mother. She joined our music programs where she helped to manage youth-owned records, the very first independent youth-led record label in the country. One day, she and her friend Martin came up to me and said, "Hey John, teens run everything here at the Neutral Zone, but we don't run the studio. What's up with that?" Well, I agreed and dedicated to helping them make a change. We found a group of college students who helped them write a business plan. And then we put together a group of friendly potential investors, and we let Martin and Alia make their pitch. Well, guess what? They raised over $30,000. We completely remodeled our studio, and we launched a new youth enterprise at the Neutral Zone, the Orpheum, a youth-led studio. Wouldn't it be amazing if every young person had opportunities for voice like Alia did? Think about how they could develop and thrive if they had those kinds of experiences. But most young people don't. Consider schools, places where young people feel little investment and no voice. In fact, they don't think much about their school climate either. But who has the most to gain when school climate is positive and the most to lose when it is negative? And as a majority population within our schools, don't they have a right to be at the table when we're coming up with decisions around school climate? Well, a recent statewide project showed that this approach has promising results. It involved the 22 lowest performing high schools from across the state of Michigan. The focus was on creating safe and supportive schools, not on raising test scores, not on meeting state benchmarks. And interestingly enough, student involvement was required of these school reform efforts. After 3 years, 65% of the schools showed a significant increase in school safety. And of these schools, they had an 18% graduation rate increase. Compare that with a 3% increase for other low-performing schools. In one of the schools in rural northern Michigan, student voice is vibrant. In 2014, their student action team was disgusted by the antiquated state of their building and infrastructure and generated a long list of improvements. Their ideas helped to create a $5.2 million bond request of their community. Think about how our schools could be different if every student across the country had opportunities for voice like those in Marion. When young people turn 18, we expect them to be competent, caring, contributing members of society, but let me ask you this. How can we ever expect them to be effective participants in a democratic society when we rarely let them make a meaningful decision before they turn 18? Let me tell you about another young person whose voice helped to create change across the state of Michigan. Yoni identifies as gay. He's been bullied and harassed ever since he was in kindergarten. In high school, he was driven off the road by a group of peers hurling hateful slurs. When he told a teacher what happened, she didn't know what to do. She was afraid to speak up for Yoni because she thought she might lose her job. Well, Yoni talked with other students who had similar experiences, and instead of running from the challenge, they banded together and created a large-scale evaluation project to look at harassment in high schools. They surveyed over 1,100 students, and they wrote a big, thick report of their findings, but they didn't stop there. They wanted to make their findings more accessible, so they took stories out of the report and created a performance that they called Gayrilla Theater. Gayrilla was performed to over 1,800 students and adults from across the state of Michigan, including the State Board of Education. Their work helped to change policy and improve educational practice in districts all across Michigan. You better believe that Yoni felt like an engaged, responsible citizen after this project. Imagine if there were pathways for young people to get involved in any institution that affects their lives, not just schools and teen centers, but parks and recreation, city council, health institutions. Let me offer a few ideas about how we might be able to make this happen. First, bring young people to the table. Ask them what they think. Now, they may not answer at first because they're simply not used to being asked, but continue inviting them to the table and continue asking them. Second, listen. Listen intently. Young people have very important ideas, but we don't do enough listening. And then finally, learn to do business differently. Young people don't tolerate long, drawn-out meetings. They communicate differently than adults do. They're unapologetically direct. And they may have different priorities than we do, but have no fear. Respect and embrace it all. I believe that young people must be seen, heard, and involved in the institutions and policies that impact their lives. And I believe this because every day young people show me they're competent, they're caring, and they can make amazing contributions when given the opportunity. I challenge you, if you're an educator, if you're a parent, or a community member at large, look at ways to amplify youth voice. It's good for their development, it's good for our communities, and it's important for the future of our democracy. Thank you.